What is going on, everybody? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Preview Show. We kick off the week here with a small four-game main slate. James, my friend, buddy, how are we doing?
What is going on? Happy Monday. Smaller smaller slate than normal, just 4 games on a Monday, but a solid slate nonetheless. We have some opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of teams playing at fast or slow paces in Washington and Toronto. We have some pretty elite teams in Boston, Milwaukee, possibly Cleveland. A couple of teams that probably might sell some pieces off in Toronto and in Chicago by year's end, and so it's an interesting slate. Of course, four game slate. We have 3 of the games with 8+ point spreads. Boston 8.5 point favorites at home. Toronto 9.5 point favorites at home. Milwaukee 8.5 point favorites at home. So 3 of these games could look pretty ugly. A couple of back teams on back-to-back. So we got a lot to dissect for just it being a 4-game slate here.
Agreed. And when we talk smaller slates, we talk more condensed ownerships there as well. So that is something to sort of take note of as we kind of work our way through here on today's slate. You mentioned, you say we have a couple teams on back-to-backs here today?
Yes. The Knicks are on a back-to-back. The Bulls are on a back-to-back. So we have a couple teams, and Washington. So we have 3 teams on a back-to-back. So 3 of 8, pretty solid amount of teams on back-to-backs. Right. We'll see how things. I broke it down on Saturday's playbook, so I'll do it again. But I will continue to add how teams are handling their back-to-backs, and we saw Boston just play their guys in back-to-backs. We've seen the Warriors, for example, Draymond Green played 18 minutes until the 5-minute mark in the fourth. There's just going to be teams handling back-to-backs differently. So we'll have that covered in the NBA DFS playbook on Fantasy Alarm on Monday.
Yep, for sure. All right, let's jump into this one again. Just 4 games here today, so it'll be a little bit of a quicker show for everyone. But we got the point guard position. Donnie Mitch is your top-priced point guard. No, we know he plays multi-positions here. Dame Lillard, 9,200, coming off of a couple of missed games. De'Aaron Fox, we have an official update on him. Doubtful for Monday's game. Jalen Brunson, Darius Garland, I guess your first true potential point guards, assuming Lillard doesn't come back, but no guys over 10K here at the point guard spot.
Lillard's probable.
Okay, there you go.
Lillard likely to play, definitely in play for tournaments. Good spot for him. We'll see if there's any type of limit. I doubt it. Just missed 2 games with the calf, so should be back. Obviously, you can get to Mitchell in any format you want. Even on a bad shooting night, the last 2 nights, 38, 43 fantasy points. He has a nice floor. Brunson's tough to get to, I think, at 82. He really needs to have a ceiling scoring. The peripheral stats are down for him this year. And when Darius Garland's $1,000 cheaper, right, there's no real point other than just being contrarian to get to Brunson. But
the gloves are off for Garland too. 36 minutes back-to-back games for him.
Yeah, and he didn't play the final couple minutes in that game. I know it ended at 8, but it was a blowout, and he didn't even finish. So we might have even seen 37, 38, 39 minutes out of Darius Garland in a more competitive game. And the shooting still hasn't been great. I mean, 7 for 11 and 6 for 13, both percentage-wise great, but we're expecting Darius Garland to not compete with Mitchell, but be the 1B to the shot attempts, and we're still not there. So there's even a higher ceiling, I think, scoring the basketball without De'Aaron Fox. They're starting Keon Ellis again. They actually gave Keon Ellis a majority of the point guard minutes along with Malik Monk in that game. So I could see a scenario where David Mitchell is clearly the best perimeter defender Sacramento has, but if David Mitchell is not going to be on the floor a lot, all systems go for Garland. He's definitely my favorite point guard in above 7K. And in no thanks, I know I was Jordan Poole's #1 fan going into the year, and he's going to have a big game one of these days. but like this is the slowest or the fastest paced team versus the third slowest paced team in the NBA. So you can't. I'm completely off Washington.
Especially when we're going to be looking probably to pivot to this man right here,
Yes.
Dennis Schroeder at $6,600.
Yes.
You got to think get 30 plus minutes in a competitive game. May not be competitive, I guess. Toronto hasn't been. They've been fine, right, this year. Washington, unless they're facing the Hornets, haven't been very good. So, but I still like Schroeder at 66 more than Poole at 7K for sure. Would you go down any of these other guards, Boston guards? You have Drew at 69, White at 59 here, or White at 59 here.
I mean, Drew's flashed a massive ceiling. So, like, if you assume the Knicks can stay competitive, yeah, I mean, he's gone for 47, 48, 43. Just when do you get those games? It's like, I mean, it's just so hard to predict. Again, he's been great in those games. It's been weird. He's been 12, 11, 10 rebounds in all three of those games. So, like, again, he has a massive ceiling. You can definitely play him. Same thing goes for Derek White. He has a massive ceiling, especially because he is just really good counting stats wise. And if you get the scoring, I mean, that's when you start talking about a guy who can approach 40 and maybe surpass 40.
Yeah.
I think both are like reasonable plays. Neither, I would say, priorities, but I preferred probably Drew. I think Drew's probably given us the higher ceiling. You could obviously go to quickly in tournaments. I think he benefited greatly from blowouts the last two games, but we know if he makes shots
on opening night against Boston. So
yeah, and dude, if he makes shots, he's on the floor, right? And they'll find a way. They can move their lineup around. Quentin Grimes is only playing 20-something minutes anyway, and they can always play, especially versus Boston. You can always play Julius Randle at the 5. You don't need to go like traditional center if need be. So you can always play quickly in tournaments as well. Kobe White. John, kudos to Kobe White after a terrible game that
really the only bad. I mean, listen, these weren't great games, but you would have lived with 16 fantasy points.
Yes. He's been really good the last few nights. In terms of at least fantasy production, like he's not, he's still like the fourth man on the depth chart, and it helps that there's now Alex Caruso to like soak up any minutes. I know Caruso's been mostly taking minutes away from the forwards and Craig and Patrick Williams, but I mean Kobe White, the minutes have been really good. And
I like the assists. The assists have been good.
Assists have been great.
Let's move on over to the shooting guard.
Whoa, bro!
What?
I mentioned Keon Ellis, 3,900. If he's gonna play 30 minutes, like.
Such a low floor, but you're not wrong, I guess. Small slate.
He did that going 2 for 8 shooting. It wasn't even like he didn't just like.
Yeah, 3 blocks feels like an outlier.
3 blocks feels like an outlier, but he had 3 steals the game before. If he's gonna play 30 minutes,
it's not a great matchup against Cleveland, but I can see it. A small slate, we probably need value somewhere, so that's fine.
Right, and I'm not saying like. 11-1 Giannis, right? Coming off, and I know Lillard wasn't in these games, but like 68 and 71, you're unlikely to find much better value, at least starting guy that has 30-minute upside, right? So that's all I'm saying.
Any Malachi Flynn interest here?
If you think that this game blows out, then
what happens with Gary Trent's minutes?
What happens with Gary Trent's minutes? We didn't really get to see that because they got absolutely torched. Okay. That was the Boston game he didn't play in. Let's see. First guy off the bench was Otto Porter Jr., who has played for 4 games. He's played like 13 minutes. Otto Porter also played 5 minutes and then didn't play again until the second half. Malachi Flynn was the second guy off the bench. Achua and Grady Dick played 14 minutes. So I'm assuming like Porter, Grady Dick are probably the two that get if Trent doesn't play. Those are probably the 2 guys, but neither have like all that great value.
All right, now we'll go to shooting guard now.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to point it out that
that's fine. Good shot. $3,900 on a DraftKings slate, 4 games. Like you said, there may not be a ton of value up here. We talked on Donovan Mitchell already. Jaylen Brown, 78. Zach LaVine, 78 as well. You had a preference between the two? Are they in your player pool here?
Probably in the player pool, I would say LaVine has the better matchup. There's a massive pace-up spot for Chicago here. Milwaukee is fourth in pace now. Chicago ranks 29th. So we actually have two massive pace-up spots here. So I'd go LaVine over Brown, but I think both, it's pretty close.
Sure. In the mid-tier range, you've talked a little bit of OG Anunoby in this matchup against Washington. Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter was lights out a couple nights ago here. Where are we looking in this low 6, 5K range?
I don't know if you did mention Karis LeVert there, but I'll also throw Karis LeVert into that equation. He's, although coming off the bench, he's just de facto like guy that's gonna come off the bench, but he's playing big minutes because they're limiting Jared Allen and they're without Isaac Okoro, so he's just soaking up any backup.
The Okoro loss is a big one for them because that was 25 plus minutes that are going basically directly to Karis LeVert.
And their backup point guard was supposed to be Ty Jerome, and Ty Jerome's not healthy. So any extra minutes are essentially going Karis LeVert's way. So I don't mind Karis LeVert. I know he is like third or fourth option on a nightly basis, but
for me, it was more so I felt like we were paying a ceiling for him. I mean, $6,700. I get that he's giving you what he's giving you the last couple nights, and it's certainly capable, but it feels we're more likely getting in this like upper 20s, lower 30s. It feels like on a more often basis, but yeah, it's against Sacramento, terrible defensive team, so I don't mind it.
Yeah, and it's not it's not a bad shout, and especially when you consider like OG 62, obviously an infinitely better matchup. OG's just also been very up and down, but like the price, love the Malik Monk minutes. We talked about it last time he played the 30 in Portland, but he had benefited from 5 overtime minutes. No overtime minutes in the OKC game and played 30 minutes. So you definitely love to see that, especially if De'Aaron Fox is still out, which all things are trending towards that. So definitely can get to Malik Monk here. Huerter, obviously ceiling. He might have even had
he did higher not miss in that game.
Did not miss. He also got in foul trouble early.
Yeah.
And he kind of probably lost a couple minutes from that. So you're like talking about what could have been maybe even like I don't want to say 60, but like you never know. It could have been like even better ceiling for Huerter. So yeah, I think all those guys are all firmly.
If you're looking down in the value range, is there anybody that jumps out to you that we haven't discussed yet? I mean, we were considering Beasley there for a little bit when guys were out. Had a terrible game against Orlando, played much better against Indy, but now Lillard back, he's not really in the equation. We've talked Grimes being limited. We've talked quickly already. Struss is 57. Any of these players down here stand out to you?
Yeah, I guess the only thing we need to monitor is Alex Caruso news. I would say Caruso is fine, especially when you look at Caruso's body of work. He's basically been like asked to guard opposing team's best player this year, and he was like Durant was like 1 for 7 against Alex Caruso in that game.
There,
I would assume he would get the Lillard assignment, and if he doesn't play, I would assume on Sunday played 27 minutes off the Bulls bench, 13, 3, 1, and 3 for Dosunmu. So, he's 3,400. If there's no Alex Caruso, Dosunmu probably is the guy that you want. And I know there was some chatter about Javon Carter in the Discord today. Javon Carter is just playing 12 to 18 minutes, and the Bulls are good with that. It's Dosunmu if no Caruso's.
At small forward, JT is down at 10K here, going up against the Knicks. Scotty Barnes up to 9K, though. Our boy quickly getting a price increase, deservingly so.
Yep.
Definitely deserves to be in a little bit more of this tier. Let us down against Boston, but we should have probably seen that one coming. Again, Celtics are just a different animal most nights than otherwise. Other than that, he's been giving you 50, 60 plus. So fine paying that against the Wizards, or do you worry about a blowout here?
Yeah, I mean, if they're blowing the Wizards out, I'm assuming it's Scotty Barnes is at the forefront of everything. He shot the ball really poorly the last 2 games, 4 for 15 in each game. Um, we've seen these bad shooting performances, and the peripherals have been there. He just didn't get that opportunity. I mean, in a competitive game, he's playing 40
Yeah.
minutes, so I'm perfectly fine. Massive pace up spot. We know the minutes are secure. We know things are basically running through him and Siakam right now. They're the two funnels, and Barnes has just been infinitely more consistent than Siakam.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mid-tier guys, we talked Levine and DeRozan, we talked to Levine already. DeRozan, $7,400, 3 straight 40-plus games. So we've said this before. Too cheap. We thought he was too cheap this whole season. It took him a little bit to really get that over the hump for us. He had the 52 fantasy point game against Toronto, but 31, 31, 32, wasn't really paying off the 74. But now if we're getting 40s, then we got to take advantage of where he's at right now, because he'll be over K before we know it.
Yeah, and we're getting 40s in minutes too,
Yeah.
like 37 and 40 the last 2 games. It's a fantastic price, and the Bucks, for what they are, man, they are not good defensively. So they're 25th in defense, and they're 4th in pace. We need to hope the Bulls on a back-to-back keep this game competitive. That's the only thing.
Agreed. Where else are we looking in the mid-tier range? You mentioned before RJ Barrett really on a good scoring run right now.
Yeah, 37 plus fantasy points in 3 straight, 24 plus actual points. He's made multiple threes in 4 straight games, shooting 50% from 3 on the year. It just doesn't feel like the spot for RJ Barrett. His minutes are also seemingly capped. I know he's been involved in a ton of blowouts lately, but we haven't seen more than 31 minutes or 32 minutes since the second game of the year. I would probably rather play Denny.
It's great to see the minutes. I believe this is the player that Denny Avdia can be. Toronto's got some good wings though, right? He's gonna have to go up against Siakam, Emoji, and Barnes.
Yeah, that's why I was a little less.
I mean, Struss has been pretty good. Well, he's been efficient, which is helping him. But he is also a good shooter, so I can't knock him for hitting 6 of 9, 4 of 7, because that's kind of his bag, right? Like we expect him to have these kind of shooting percentage here. Rebounds have been good, assists have been good. He's giving you a block or a steal pretty much every night, one or the other. So $5,700 against the Kings. I know you mentioned how bad they are defensively here. So
yeah, last guy in type play.
Okay. Anybody else down here for value? Sam Hauser, tickle your fancy?
He's going to play 20 minutes, and he's going to
Another guy just knock him down.
Probably. Yeah, he's probably going to get you 20 fantasy points. I don't hate it, especially I would say Hauser makes a lot of sense in like Giannis builds, because I don't see a lot of value on the board. I don't think Koulibaly plays the type of minutes he played again, but like 34 minutes, he went nuclear. He hasn't been great, but again, I mean,
what was the
27, 3, and 4.
What was the reason for the 34 minutes?
There is, Washington's rotation.
I was going to say, it feels like there's, we haven't seen, we've seen him get a couple of decent run nights, and then there's nights where he doesn't see the floor nearly at all. So
I think that's the Gafford. Gafford left. So Gafford got hurt.
Okay.
I remember that Koulibaly started the second half, and then Gafford never returned in the fourth quarter. Gafford didn't start the second half, came back in, played 5 minutes, had a steal and a made basket, and then never played the fourth. Koulibaly played the entire fourth. So he played, damn near all his minutes in the second half. He played 20 minutes in the second half. He played 14 in the first, 20 in the second. So maybe Connaughton is a guy we look at too, or Beauchamp. We know Middleton's limited, and there is going to be no Jay Crowder in this game. So maybe Pat Connaughton 37, maybe Marjan Beauchamp at 3,300. Two guys that are like kind of in the rotation for Milwaukee. They're in the rotation for Milwaukee, but maybe they Crowder's averaged 26 minutes a game this year, John. So if maybe that goes directly to Portis. I guess we'll see, but I think at this position, Middleton or Connaughton and Beauchamp, 37-33 could be final pieces in.
Sure. Moving on over then to the power forward position where there is Giannis here at 11-1. You mentioned some ceiling games. I mean, that Pacers game was, that was a man determined. They could not stop him. He went 16 of 18 from the line. His best free throw shooting night of the year by far. Double doubles, giving you the whole shebang there. Followed it up. Really nice game against Orlando again. But now Dame is back. So we did get a 62-point game out against Brooklyn with Dame in the lineup. But, he hasn't paid off the tag otherwise. So are you going to the well here with Giannis, or do you take a step back with Lillard back in the lineup?
I mean, I think we'll find out with the ownership. We talk about this all the time. In terms of raw point ceiling, nobody on the slate has like more consistent raw point ceiling on Giannis. So if he goes for 65, you're probably in a good position. Yeah. But it's like, what does your lineup look like with Giannis at 11-1? Because we haven't exactly identified too much value that we like.
Ellis
like there
and
is
Hauser and
I mean, there is value to there's obviously value out there, but where is
fair balance definitely could be the build here for sure. We talked Tatum at 10K already. Kuzma had the ceiling, the floor game against Brooklyn. One thing with Brooklyn, we talk a lot about it, and I know it doesn't always come through, but they do have decent defensive wings with Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith. And now he's going against Toronto with OG and Barnes. Is this another time where $8,300 maybe we look to fade Kyle Kuzma in this matchup?
I'm totally fading. I'm taking back my Denny and Koulibaly.
Okay,
I'm fully off
on the road in Toronto. Doesn't feel like a good Washington spot to me.
No, it's terrible.
I would agree with you. On opening night, Chris Porzingis went into Madison Square Garden and dropped the 50 burger. Now he's at home against the Knicks. Maybe some continued success finding his way. Has had some inconsistencies. Some of that's just due to blowouts. Hard to have a ceiling game when you're playing 28, 25 minutes. When you play 38, you can get there. But he's had 4 games now where he's played less than 30 because of the point total here. But we think the Knicks might be able to play a little bit more competitive basketball here based off their initial meeting. And last year, the Knicks gave the Celtics hell. $7,600, cheapest we've seen him since opening night. I think we go back to the well with Porzingis here.
Yeah, I mean, the thing you have to remember with Porzingis and what Joe Mazzulla is doing with him versus everyone else is that he is the most injury-prone player the Boston has. And, has not been very healthy throughout his whole career, really. And get him chances to be limited, you get him chances to be limited, right? You're up 20 in these games. Of all the people, get Porzingis off the floor. Him and Horford are your only 2 reliable bigs going into a postseason run. You need both those guys to be healthy. So as long as you think games can stay competitive, Porzingis has a ceiling. And if you don't, it's probably a good reason not to play him. I really liked him in that Toronto spot, and he smashed. But like you said, he played 28 minutes. So there's obviously
you add 10 more minutes onto that game because it's within 10, and he might have gone for 50, right? So.
50, yeah. It's just, do you think Kristaps Porzingis plays the minutes? If you do, then then he has a ceiling.
I agree. I do like that spot here. How are you attacking Evan Mobley? Any interest in Sacramento?
Safe. He's got a nice floor. I haven't loved the minutes, John. 31 and 33 minutes.
He lost the Vert minutes, right? They're going somewhere.
Yeah, he obviously lost a couple minutes to Jared. I mean, Jared Allen's only going to play 28, 29. That was already made clear by Bickerstaff. But probably 33, 34 is a safe projection for Evan Mobley. But he's safe. I don't have DeRozan's the same price and a better matchup.
Agreed. Moving our way down, kicking myself.
Yep, the Keegan Murray
I
game.
play
Yeah.
Keegan Murray all the time. You and I both like to talk up Keegan Murray, and we're like, you know what? Look what he's doing with the rebounds, and if the scoring ever just like connects with the rebounds, you're getting the 40-point games, and boom.
Oh,
He
boy.
gives you the Michael Porter Jr. game that we called him out in the stream, 2 nights ago or 2 streams ago? 24-11, 1 block, 3 steals, only 3 of 10 from 3 too, by the way, which is not a good number for Keegan Murray here. Played 40 minutes. As long as De'Aaron Fox is out of the lineup, Keegan Murray's going to have shots kind of find his way here. Think Michael Porter with Jamal Murray out of the lineup, right? Like he's having stealing games here. So less consistent right now than MPJ, but I think Murray could be similar. Gets Cleveland here, so matchup for him is Struss or LeVert. Like what's their wing defense on Keegan Murray in this one?
He starts at power forward, so he'll be.
Chasing out to the
it's him or Barnes. Like it's positionless basketball, so it's hard to That's hard to project. I would say more than anything, the shot attempts are great, the minutes are great. I'm perfectly fine getting to Keegan Murray, just no matter who the real matchup is. I think he shot 40% from 3 last year. He's shooting 20. He's shooting 25%, and everything else has skyrocketed. Yeah. So with you mentioned, there's no De'Aaron Fox. I don't think the ownership's going to be shy. I think he's going to be pretty popular at 6,400. Just because minutes, volume, peripheral stats are all there. And if he even just shoots 5 for 10, we're talking about a guy who goes for 55 fantasy points, right? So playing with Sabonis, the game definitely comes easier. I think playing with Keon Ellis is a big bump to Keegan Murray because Keon Ellis is not the score first guy, as you mentioned earlier. So yeah, I love Keegan Murray 6,400. I think he's the only downside is one position eligibility, right? The power forward spot.
And I don't know if he has a ceiling rebounding game against Cleveland here with Allen and Mobley there. Could probably settle it in the 5 rebounds than the 7+ that we've been getting, but
yeah,
that would probably be it. Bobby Poe against Chicago. We always like to just shout out his time there and how it ended with him knocking out a teammate.
Sure did.
But listen, one of my favorite plays to play in tournaments. He comes off the bench. He's a wild fantasy point per minute monster, and he has a ceiling. There are days where he just hits everything, is everywhere on all over the floor. So $5,400 against Chicago feels like a pretty good price tag for him.
And he's one of those dudes, those rare guys that backs up the 4 and the 5. So he plays. He's not your just traditional backup center.
Right.
Or
he plays with Giannis. He plays without Giannis. It doesn't problem.
Yep. Yeah, and he's the primary offensive guy. Sometimes when Giannis is on the bench, not that will change with Lillard, but 25+ fantasy points in 4 straight games. 5,400 is we obviously want the 27 that we've gotten, but hard not to like the minutes. And again, it makes you wonder what they're going to do with Jay Crowder's minutes, because Jay Crowder's been playing 26 minutes a game. We already know it's not going to be suddenly Middleton playing 30. Right. That's just not on the cards. If Middleton's minutes go up, it's 22, 23.
Yeah, probably a max of 25 at this point. He's played 4 games at 20 minutes, so they got to move. They got to bump him soon.
I mean, you would think, but who? Another guy who's obviously not being rushed. I'm just curious if the 28 minutes, there's obviously a blowout.
If you got 25 minutes known from Middleton, would you play him in the slate?
Under 6K, probably, yeah. Only thing is, there is if that was last slate, you asked me, I would have said yes 100% because there was no Lillard. On this one, I'll temper my expectations a little bit, but I do like 25 for Middleton.
There's any value for you down here? I didn't really find too much.
Looking at the minutes the Bulls played. I mean, they played Torrey Craig 30 without Alex Caruso. So maybe if there's no Alex Caruso, we get Torrey. Yeah, we'll get 30 minutes from Torrey Craig. That would be my assumption. Other than that, it's really hard to get to anything else.
Center here, Sabonis is 10-1. as your one true center we haven't discussed yet, and then goes down to Vuk at $7,600. Again, this feels like a really tough matchup. I know it's Sabonis. He does a lot of different things here. Triple doubles, giving you the Jokic light. Do you pay the 10-1 for him in this spot against Cleveland?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I don't care. If we're gonna get those type of numbers, I know it's like you said, the different spots, but Cleveland's actually been playing pretty good pace this year. They're 12th, Sacramento's 24th, so we're actually getting a nice little pace up spot, over 2 possessions a game more for Sabonis, and I mean, hey man, 38 minutes, 40 minutes.
Yeah, he's a monster right now.
60 fantasy points. Like the only thing you worry about is foul trouble with Sabonis. But even navigating that, 4-4-5 fouls last 2 games, 4 and 5, 56, 60 fantasy points. So.
Yep. Vucevic is at 76. Pirtle, Rich Rob, Jarrett Allen. Next kind of tier for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna throw Siakam in there because it's Washington. Sure. I think, and I'm gonna also, he's been a little better the last 2 games. The Boston game, he's had a pretty good fantasy point output in 28 minutes, and the game before he broke out, obviously, the Dallas game. But Washington is a dream spot, so I'm not going to shy away from Toronto and Siakam, and just because he's been playing bad. He's realistically, like, Scotty Barnes has been their best player, but the body of work suggests Siakam is still their best player until he's traded or Scotty, like, rips it from him. You can probably say the same thing about Randall if you think that game stays close. Randall's had 40-plus fantasy points in 4 straight games, so you can go there. Vucevic had a monster game on Sunday, definitely down to go back to the well. He's just kind of been super steady. Mobley we talked about, he's fine. Jakob Poeltl, really hard to predict when Jakob Poeltl's going to play minutes. Really hard. And now Precious Achiuwa's back. Yeah. I'm probably out on Poeltl. One of those situations. Same with Mitch Rob.
I mean, Precious is probably kind of interesting here against Washington. We play Conquo, we play Hartenstein, we play Eubanks. Precious is sort of in that same mold of those off the bench centers that just rack up, energy fantasy points.
I just wish he wasn't 4,600.
Agreed.
And it was like
agreed. We play those guys at 42 and 39 and stuff.
Yeah. I wish it was like a little cheaper.
Hartenstein is $4,500 though, so they're bumping this guy up here as well. So
yeah, this feels like a game he could be on the floor for a good chunk of run.
Do you give Drummond any looks? Another just fantasy point.
Dude, there's always. I mean, dude, honestly, like, if there was ever slates to play Andre Drummond, like, second leg of a back-to-back where there's a chance dude, he is actually, like, I'm sure these nights, people that are MMEing are winning money with Andre Drummond, right? Like, 2 of these last 3 nights where he goes for 25 and 30.
Giannis gets Book in foul trouble or something, right? And all of a sudden Drummond's out there just playing 20 minutes.
I mean, even if he doesn't,
he's 11 and 13 and 15 minutes against his whole team there.
That's crazy.
Like, there's an obvious floor. We saw it here against Phoenix, but the 2 games prior, 20, 25, and then 33, paying off the price tag. Now he's $1,000 more expensive for whatever reason, but okay.
Yeah, I would say, like, all of those, like, Achiuwa, Drummond, Hartenstein all fall into the more of the MME bucket than anything. Like, if you're playing one entry, you're not getting to any of those guys. But if you're playing 20 lines or if you're playing 150 lines, like, you're definitely getting a couple shares of those guys.
I agree. All right, that's the end of our positional breakdown here. Let's get a lineup built. How do you want to kick things off here? Building fair and balanced. Going to try to fit in and jam a top price play. What are we thinking here?
Going
through this slate, did you have a number 1 with a bullet? Was it Garland for 72?
Yeah, let's play Garland. Garland is a great price tag. Keegan Murray at 64 felt really good. I really like that.
You want
let's
Schroeder?
See. Probably Schroeder. I don't love the position eligibility there, but that's fine. Quarter 59, maybe. Obviously, the Caruso news can open something up with like Craig and Dosunmu. Those two are clear cut. They both basically played like a 6-man rotation on. I would rather play over Schroeder. Is Colby White's only point guard? I'd rather play Colby White than Schroeder probably, just because you save there's a lot of savings going from there, and it probably gets you closer to Scotty Barnes too. If we wanted to play Scotty Barnes in a dream matchup.
Scotty Barnes. Let's see. Who's our
52 for center
value? Just jam Hauser in there.
Keon Ellis or Hauser.
What was Ellis? 39 or 4?
39, yeah.
Doesn't really get us
nothing.
It's just nothing.
I don't want to play Pirtle either. Jared Allen's gonna play like 28 minutes if we wanted to play Jared Allen.
How do we get?
How do we get to any of that next tier? Probably have to come off Barnes in that case.
Yeah.
Right.
If we put DeRozan in for Struss there, small forward, or is he power forward? All right, so that gives us, if we do Hauser as a forward.
We have what, 61?
61 for util.
Like Monk.
Derek White.
Derek White. You just have to switch some Cleveland and Sacramento
around. Off the bench. Gives us someone to come back with Milwaukee.
I don't mind Derek White. We'd have 2 Celtics not named Jason Tatum.
Yeah, we have 3.
We'd have Hauser. Yeah.
I mean, we could go off Zinger if you're worried about that. Go Vucevic.
Yeah, play
Vucevic. Gives us 3 Chicago, but I mean they're
much better pace.
Better 3. So yeah. All right, so it's an example lineup for everybody: Garland, Porter, DeRozan, Keegan Murray, Vucevic, Kobe White, Sam Hauser, Derek White. Again, we'll have a playbook out for everybody. You can find us in the Discord and find us on Twitter there as well. James, any final thoughts here before we sign off for the day?
No, we'll be in the Discord. We'll be back at 5.
Back live, 5 o'clock Eastern time. Yep.
Yeah, we'll be doing a lot. And wait, actually, you know what, John? See that little scroll at the bottom? Yeah. Do you see it? Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We just went over 5,000 subs. So thank you to all of you guys for tuning in every day to all of the stuff, including all the fantasy football content, basketball content, when baseball comes back around. I mean, everything you guys rock. So we appreciate we do this for you guys.
Yeah, and become a member of the family. Like I said, don't scroll down there, get access to all of our premium content there. Go to fantasy.com/win. James and I will be back later on today, 5 o'clock Eastern. We'll see you then.